What's up? My name is Tisha Page and welcome to What's the Word. So today's podcast, we're going to talk about people pleasing. That was a drum roll in case you guys didn't know. People pleasing. This is something that I had to overcome. Yes. And I know as Christians, we want to love people. We want to serve them. We want to be kind, generous, and do all we can. But sometimes we can do the most. We can blur the lines to serving people and people pleasing. And this is something that I struggled with when I had asked God to serve people. I wanted to serve people. I wanted to do the right thing. And it often led me to end up in bad situations or even, what's the word? It would bite me in the butt. And God would remind me, like, I did not put you in those situations to serve this person or help them. Like, you are here to serve me, seek my approval. What are you doing, Tanisha? There's a thin line between helping others and putting others' needs before you, which is like awesome. We are supposed to do this. But there's a difference between doing that and just like disregarding your feelings, your emotions, how tired you are. You're drained. You don't have enough. You know what I mean? There's just a difference when you don't even have enough to help this person. You're depleting yourself. You're not God. And the thing is, if you continue to go off this, or you're no longer serving God anymore. Like, it's a constant thing. It's not like God has placed in my heart to help you or you just helping something. But if you're doing this consistently, this is the difference, you guys. If you're consistently doing this all the time, you're going to be no longer serving God. You're going to be serving man. And there's definitely there's like a line, there's like a blurred line. I feel like there's a line between serving others and putting their needs before you, and then doing that in a way that's almost like you're depleting yourself. You're tired, you're drained. You're almost resentful of other people because of all this. There's a difference. And I'm going to just break it down. I'm going to go more deeper into it. So I'm going to break it down because I know how hard this could be. Especially if you're brand new and you really want to serve others, which I totally get because I want to serve others. I want to help others. But I've learned that there's just no way of people pleasing, and you're going to have to learn how to maneuver, get around this. Like, there's definitely ways where you could serve people, but there's also times where you're going to have to place boundaries on yourself because you're only human. You are not God. People pleasers tend to go over the top for people. Although it's kind and helpful, it's a good thing, but they go too far and it leaves them emotionally depleted, stressed, and anxious. This is what the article says that I found on verywellmind.com. I'm going to read what the article says also about people pleasing. It says, people pleasing is a person who puts others' needs ahead of their own. This type of person is highly attuned to others and often seen as agreeable, helpful, kind. But people pleasers can also have trouble advocating for themselves, which could lead to harmful patterns of self-sacrifice or self-neglect. People pleasing is also a way of self-neglect. You're neglecting yourself. You're neglecting your needs as well. Not to say that you can't go and help somebody and sacrifice yourself, but if you do this all the time consistently for every single person, again, not pouring anything into your cup, you're giving, and there's just nothing in you out. There's nothing in you that you can give to other people because you've given so much of yourself. And God's like, hold up, skirt, daughter, what's going on here? Symptoms that are associated with people pleasing is anxiety, depression, borderline personality disorder, codependency, avoidant personality disorder. I definitely understand the whole codependency. I've been there, done that. Anxiety, yes. Like a lot of these things I definitely am familiar with. And I feel like as I've been getting closer to God, I've been more able to feel people's feelings and how they feel. So I'm more concerned about them. So I feel like that has really led me to people pleasing, just because I'm just super aware what they're going through or how they're feeling, and I want to help. and I want to do all that I can to help them and also maintain the relationship, because I had a hard time of caring what people would think as well. So if somebody would think negative, I would try to maintain it and try to fix it as well. That's a whole nother thing. I'm going to share with you guys signs of what a people pleaser might be. So people pleasers, you might have a difficult time saying no. You are preoccupied with what people think. You feel guilty when you do not tell people no. You fear that turning people down will make them think you are mean or selfish. You agree to things you don't like or do things you don't want to do. You struggle with feelings of low self-esteem. You want people to like you and feel that you're doing things for them that will earn their approval. You're always telling people you're sorry. You take the blame even when something isn't your fault. You never have any free time because you're always doing things for other people. You neglect your own needs in order to do things for others. You pretend to agree with people even though you feel differently. So these are some of the signs of people pleasers, which is crazy because some of them I had, like the whole, what is it called? I used to struggle with low self-esteem. I talked about that in my first episode. You're always telling people you're sorry. Oh my gosh. I kind of still do that sometimes. What else? You are preoccupied with what other people may think. This is something that I struggled with all the time. And thank God that we are getting better. We're doing better. I'm not doing that anymore. Thank God. It was a lot of work. It made me very anxious in those times. And yeah, I feel like these are some of the signs that I can relate to for people pleasing. And I actually know some people who are struggling with people. I actually know some people who are actually struggling people pleasing, and some of them, I remember they would tell me some of these signs that they struggled with. So some of them struggled with these things as well when it came to people pleasing. So that, like, this is on point. A side note is that when it came to people pleasing, I didn't want people to think I was a bad person. So I would constantly feel like if I said no, and I didn't mind saying no, but I would get people who would get upset or I would feel like they feel rejected or insecure. And then I would try to fix it in any way or shape or form, if you know what I mean. Like if I said no, I would try to make up for it like a different way. Like, oh, like I can't do that for you now, so I'll make up for it tomorrow or the next day, and I would try to fix it. Or I would ask the person, like, what's wrong? Can I fix this? How can we fix this relationship? What can I do? And it was a lot of work, I'll be honest. It's something that I wouldn't wish on anybody else. So if you're struggling with this, stop it. Stop trying to fix every single issue or problem in your relationship, because no matter what, like, your relationships aren't going to be perfect. It's okay to try to fix a relationship, but if you're constantly doing this and you're constantly stressed by it, then that's a red flag of people pleasing. There are people who are telling you you're selfish, or maybe they're telling you you're greedy, or they're mad at you because of you saying no and you're putting your foot down. Just remember that God didn't call you to save the world. Like, it's okay to have time for yourself. It's okay to say no. It's okay that you have to do something else. It's okay that you don't have it. You were never supposed to be everything for one person. You were not supposed to be everything for the world. You are not Jesus. You are not God. God did not tell you to sacrifice yourself for the whole world. That was Jesus's job, not your job. It's when it comes to being human, you have limits. You have limits. You can't do everything. You need rest. So I'm going to read Galatians 1:10 for you guys, because, you know, we have to read scripture. Scripture is important. Galatians 1:10 says this: "For am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ." Why don't we go to God for approval? To hear yes from him, to hear no's from him, to hear the good things what we're doing in our life. God wants us to go to him for validation, for him, for identity, not to the world, not to man. And this goes, I believe this can be applied with your life. Like when you're walking in according to God's will, you can't walk according to man's will at the same time. You cannot serve two masters. It's either God or man. People pleasers, you can't continue seeking man's approval. It could be on social media, maybe your friendships, your relationships, maybe your husband or your wife. You know, you have to let that go, because one day it's not going to be enough for them. You're going to get a complaint. You're going to get criticized. So what are you going to do when you are criticized? What happens when people still don't like you? What are you going to do? My own experience, I struggled a lot with caring a lot what people think. And it really messed me up mentally. I'll be honest. It gave me a lot of crazy thoughts. Like there were times where I could not sleep. There were times where I couldn't have peace in my mind so much. It was chaotic. It was like a tornado 24/7. I would come out of a conversation with somebody and then I would talk about all the negative things, all the bad things that I did or said, or maybe I thought like, oh, maybe they don't like me, or maybe they think I'm weird. They're never going to be my friend. I would have all these thoughts and lies being in my mind 24/7. And then the next time I would see them, I would wonder if they're thinking this about me, and then come to find out they weren't. And I wasted so much time thinking about what people would think about or thinking about me. I wasted so much time being anxious and fear of that and wanting to maintain this relationship. And I should have just went to God. I really wish I went to God for validation, for God, for truth about who I am and my identity, rather than the world, or rather with my friends, my relationships, the people in my life. It would have taken a lot of stress and fear and all of that off of me. And I want you guys to have this freedom. People pleasing is not it. It really does a negative impact on you mentally, physically, and spiritually. So even though I struggle with people pleasing, I knew that I could not help the world. I knew that I wasn't enough to do it all. So there was a time where I was doing the most for people. I thought I could help 4 people in one day, and it did not work out at all. It did not go as planned. I was tired. I was depleted. I was emotionally drained, and I was doing the most. And me serving one person and then trying to serve the other 3 did not work out. One person, I forgot about them. I forgot I had made plans for them. Another person, I ended up canceling the plans on them, and they got upset for other reasons. I ended up not being able to hang out with those 3 people and only was able to help one person. And then I had to go home, and I was just drained. While I was driving back home, God put a thought in my mind, and he reminded me that I cannot please everybody. It's impossible. And that's when it hit me, was like, wow, I didn't realize that this is what I was doing. I didn't realize I was people pleasing. I thought I was just helping and trying to be there and just maintain my relationships. But really, I was actually people pleasing. I wasn't serving God. I was serving man. I didn't realize that at the time. I thought that's what friends do, right? That's what we do for our family. But it was biting me in the butt. I want to give you guys some tips how to stop being a people pleaser. And I actually talked to my friend about this earlier before I recorded the episode, which is funny because we talked about people pleasing, and I was sharing some advice of like how to stop people pleasing and recognizing this. So the first one is to have boundaries, y'all. Have boundaries. You have to communicate your boundaries with people and let them know your schedule, let them know the time you're available, when you're not available. So if you start having boundaries and all of a sudden you start saying no to people, people will notice, and they may not like that. They actually might push back. There might be some pushback, and they might get irritated. They might feel insecure. Maybe they might feel rejected, or maybe they're not used to having boundaries because they don't have boundaries. And you're going to have to put your foot down. Yep, you're going to have to put your foot down. I feel like this area is where I feel like I'm really good at having boundaries and knowing what I can and what I can't do. But then there are times where I care about what people think in that relationship. So my emotions can get in the way of it. And I understand that emotions can get in the way. You may have a loved one or a friend that you want to help dearly, but sometimes you do not have the capacity to help them. You don't have the resources. Maybe you don't even have the resources to help them and you want to. You really do. And I applaud you guys. I applaud you guys for wanting to serve people, serve your community, serve your family, serve them. That's awesome. But unfortunately, we cannot serve the world. We have limits. We have our own limits. You feel me? When I stopped overthinking people's feelings, I started to seek God's validation. I'm like, God, I'm tired. I don't got the resources to help them. And I leaned on that because I know people will get upset. People will get mad. Some people are okay with it. I feel like the more you have boundaries, the more people will understand you. So it's definitely hard to have boundaries if you never had them before, honestly. And, but you definitely just have to start small. Definitely have to start small when you start having boundaries. That's a one. And then eventually people will start to catch on, like, okay, this girl has boundaries. And it's not bad. When I see people who have boundaries, say if I ask them for a favor, I respect it. Like, I don't get mad. Usually people get mad if they're just insecure, they're dealing with rejection, they had issues with this before, or maybe they don't have boundaries themselves, so they don't understand. So that's like one of the reasons why people get mad. But like if since it's me, like if I get a no, I'm like, okay, I respect this person. People respect you more when you have boundaries. I'm not gonna lie. When people say no to me, I'm like, all right, word, cool, I love you, all right. But you know what I mean? Like they're just busy. I get it. I'm more understanding of them because I get it. Like they literally can't do this for me, or they're not available. So that's cool. It's not on them. They're just busy. That's life. In life, we're gonna be busy. We're gonna have children. We're gonna have families. We're gonna have a husband. We're gonna have a lot of events in our life. So you're gonna have to say no to somebody. Unfortunately. Sorry, you guys. I had to come back. My camera was like acting up. Anyways, so number 2, do not compromise God's will for man's will. This is so important because many times I've been in situations where I was not supposed to help this person or be in a situation and it compromised God's will for my life. So this goes back to, it ties to Galatians 1:10. In Galatians 1:10, to stop seeking the approval of man. Seek God's approval. And if you're out here seeking man's approval, you will not be a servant of God. We're out here trying to please man, and it results with us not being in the will of God. You want to be in God's will. You don't want to compromise yourself for anybody. Number 3, you are going to say no to a lot of people. Just be honest. You're going to go through a lot of things. You're going to go through a lot of changes in your life. You're going to have children, friends. You're going to be married. You're going to have a big family, or maybe you have your own family right now. You have a job. So there's things you're going to have to say no to. And you're going to have to be it's going to be a practice for you guys to stop being people pleasers. And as you start to learn how to live and serve God and seek God's approval, God's going to help you do this. I know certain people who are learning and trying to stop being people pleasers, and God loves that you have a desire to help people. He loves that. And obviously there are going to be times where God's going to have to correct you, and it's going to be a learning curve. God's going to teach you. He's going to correct you, and then you'll be able to serve him with your whole heart and in his will. So the next one is instead of saying yes, think about it. I used to be a person who used to say yes all the time, and then I would have to go back to the person and be like, hey, I actually can't do that for you. I'm sorry for committing. And there's been times people got hurt, so now I just tell people like, I'll think about it. And it has been actually really better in my relationships now. And the next one is avoid making excuses. Be direct, be honest. Don't be a person who says yes and then make excuses and then lie about it later on. You know what I mean? Like those people, you have those friends And you don't want to be that person to be like, somebody sees you in the street and be like, yo, didn't you say you couldn't do that thing? Why are you here? Like, you just lied to me. You want to be a woman of integrity, someone who's honest, someone who's direct. It's okay to say no. It's better to be honest instead of trying to make up excuses, lie about it. That's just so much work, y'all. I'll be honest. Luckily, I've been a person who's been really good at dealing with conflict or like being direct. I'd rather just say it and then move on rather than doing all of that work. Ugh, too much. And the next one is get a therapist. Get a therapist to help you deal with some of your people pleasing, or maybe you care so much what people think. You don't want this to lead to another problem. Caring what people think about you or wanting to save the world, it really depletes you mentally, physically, and spiritually. Like, God's just like, hold up, save some energy for me too. You feel me? So just remember, I just want you guys to remember that this is a journey. You know, if you want to stop people pleasing, this is going to be a life journey. God's going to help you. He's going to correct you. He's going to mold you to the person you're supposed to be. All right. So you guys, I am done with this episode. I hope you guys found this episode very helpful, and I will see you guys next week in the next episode. Bye.